The wooden track layout. Reverse merge. Wooden tracks, electric trains. By Gary Schick. November 2025. We continue the wooden tracks, electric trains episode called Reverse Merge with the last part in the 4-part episode. In previous parts of this episode, we explored the function of merge track and how these are useful in constructing of interesting track layouts. In the reverse merge part 1, we discussed the difference between a merge and a switch and used a reversing loop to demonstrate concepts related to the reverse merge. In the reverse merge part 2, we analyzed the configuration of two adjacent merge tracks we call an inverse merge crossing. In the reverse merge part 3, we demonstrated how we create and use two types of bypasses. Now, in part 4, the final segment of the reverse merge episode, we improve the layout constructed in part 3 and add another optional route. If you recall, in part 3 we added an optional route for the blue engine. When traveling in the clockwise direction, we then asked, what if we want an optional route for the blue engine when traveling in the counterclockwise direction? Can we provide another route that makes use of existing track and also preserves existing routes? Before we get into the details of what turned out to be a complex change, we will make a digression that eventually leads us back to the subject. Yogi Berra was a legendary American professional baseball catcher, manager, and coach, known for his incredible successes with the New York Yankees. He was an 18-time All-Star, a 3-time American League MVP, and a 10-time World Series champion as a player, more than any other player in MLB history. Berra is also remembered for his unique, humorous sayings, known as Yogi-isms. An example is the Berra's epigram. Nobody goes there nowadays, it's too crowded. Yogi sayings often embody his unique way of seeing things through apparent confusion. From his repertoire of phrases, a personal favorite, and perhaps his most profound saying is, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. This famous Yogi Berraism is seemingly nonsensical, yet it is a profound way of highlighting the simple wisdom in the act of making a choice, even when the outcome is confusing. The backstory for this phrase was that when he was giving directions to his house, he wanted to convey the fact that both paths led there. Yogi Berra subsequently provided a corollary to complete his logic. In the original phrase, you've got to be very careful if you don't know where you are going, because you might not get there. Perhaps you understand why the mention of these particular yogi-isms is appropriate in an introduction to the final part of this episode, where we add another path option in the layout with an intention of creating a route. A review of the layout before the change will help us explain what the change must accomplish. Previously, we explained that we are operating two engines on independent loop routes, where engines can travel in both the clockwise direction or the counterclockwise direction. We also explained why we added a switch and two bypasses to the layout, and how the blue engine's clockwise route was improved when the switch is set to the curve exit. With the switch set to the curve direction, as shown, the blue engine is no longer entering the track section at the far left, above intersection IC4. That long section above intersection IC4 is only entered by the blue engine when the switch is set to the straight exit, which recreates the original path before the switch replaced a straight track. What we next proposed was to also create an optional path for the blue engine traveling counterclockwise. The merge tracks at ME1 and ME2 are obvious candidates for replacement by a switch. However, replacing the merge at ME1 would require extensive changes, because the curve path of the merge is used by one of the clockwise routes of the blue engine. However, we notice that the curve path of the merge above ME2 is not in use and currently has no purpose. Replacing the merge ME2 with a switch would make sense, except for an issue you may notice in the two video clips we are watching. The straight entrance at ME2 is currently in use in both directions of travel. So, if we install a switch at ME2, we will need a bypass around the switch for the clockwise route. There is at least one more issue found in pursuing the idea of installing a switch at ME2. If we follow the two tracks leaving ME2, we realize that the paths simply merge at IC5, so that there is very little difference between the straight and curve exit paths from a switch. Therefore, to make the switch at ME2 accomplish different routes, we will need additional changes to the layout. After considerable deliberation, we arrived at a solution we show in this photo. Perhaps the important things to know is that in this layout, all track sections are useful in one or more of 5 routes. In the photo, we labeled 3 of the 5 routes available. The changes needed to make this version of the layout were significant, but they accomplished a new optional route and preserved the existing routes. While the original routes are still available, there are differences in some areas of these routes. The new optional route is created by the additional switch at 3A. This new route enables our blue engine, traveling counterclockwise to travel a previously existing track section along the left edge of the layout. If you recall, that section was previously only traveled by the blue engine in the clockwise route, so now it can be traveled in both directions. However, to make that counterclockwise route work, we had to bypass both the IC4 intersection and the switch at 1A. The surgery we performed changed bypass 2 into the second part of a double bypass, and there are now 2 different ways that bypass 2 is entered. Bypass 5, seen at the bottom left, is used by a counterclockwise blue engine after arriving from the new switch at 3A. Bypass 5 merges into bypass 2, so that the counterclockwise traveling blue engine avoids the intersection, IC4, and then the switch at 1A. The most significant change to the layout is the change at intersection IC5, where the curve leading to the left is replaced by a merge. We previously made the same type of change at IC4, and, as we saw before, we now have an inverse merge crossing at IC5. The inverse merge crossing at IC5 creates a separation of the 2 paths, leaving the 2 exits of the new switch at 3A. In other words, removing a curve after IC5 and replacing the curve with a merge track created an inverse curve merge and changed the path from a simple merge to a crossing. The intersection ME2 no longer exists, replaced by the switch 3A. This is now what Yogi Berra might have called the fork in the road, but now, unlike yogis, our fork leads to different places. Bypass 3 creates a clockwise path bypass around the switch, so no routes enter the switch at either exit. Bypass 4 begins at the inverse merge crossing at IC5, continuing the path from the curve exit of the switch at 3A. We trace the path from the switch at 3A by following the red colored arrows in the photo. Bypass 4 circumvents the inverse merge at IC3 to send the path to merge into the track above the upper curve entrance of IC3. The path continues into the right straight entrance of IC1, and after exiting the left straight entrance of IC1, the path approaches the left edge of the layout. The counterclockwise path curves left or downward in the photo near the left edge. The path passes straight through the reverse merge at 5A, while the clockwise path arrives at the curve entrance to meet the counterclockwise path at the merge exit. The counterclockwise path exits the straight merge entrance into bypass 5. Bypass 5 ends at a new merge section, 5B, which intersects bypass 2. So, the route continues across bypass 2. Finally, the route arrives at the merge at 2B. There is a short straight section after 2B before the merge at ME1, so the path continues in the straight direction. If bypass 2 was longer, the merge at 2B would connect directly to the merge at ME1. This would create another inverse merge crossing and divert at the curve exit of ME1. We do not want a crossing path, so we made sure that bypass 2 merges into a straight track before ME1. Therefore, the path, marked with red arrows, continues in a straight path until it reaches the switch at 3A. The switch is set to the curve exit so that the path formed a loop. To complete our list of complicated changes needed to make this a functional layout, we created bypass 3 and installed its entrance merge track at 3B. The counterclockwise path that begins at the straight exit of the switch at 3A, marked with yellow arrows in the photo, is approximately the original path we had before the switch was installed. However, we inserted a merge track at 3B and matched the straight length extension at the straight exit of the switch. The merge at 3B allows the yellow path to be the same as before, but at the same time allows the path marked with the green arrows to divert into bypass 3. The path marked with green arrows is the clockwise direction that corresponds to the counterclockwise path marked with yellow arrows. In the same way that the counterclockwise yellow arrow path needs bypass 2 to avoid the switch at 1A, the clockwise green arrow needs bypass 3 to avoid the switch at 3A. The clockwise route for bypass 3 was constructed with a terminating merge exit beyond or to the left of the switch at 3A. The last problem we had to solve was that the route of the red engine intersects the route of bypass 3. So, we installed another 90-degree curve cross and extended the length of the red engine track to allow the path of the red engine to cross the path of bypass 3. To allow us to summarize the changes made, we show the previous layout and the updated layout side by side. The updated layout on the right is clearly larger and more complex, but you should be able to see that most of the previous layout is preserved. The merge at location E2 was replaced by a switch to create Yogi's fork in the road, or rather in the track. The two paths leaving the switch exits are almost the same as in the previous layout, except at the straight exit, an additional straight short section follows the switch. Continuing further from the switch, both paths curve upward, then use 45-degree crossings to provide a path across for the red engine, as was the case in the previous layout after the merge. In the updated layout, before the track from the straight exit of the switch enters intersection IC5, there's a new merge at 3B, which did not exist in the previous layout. Then, the construction at intersection IC5 was changed from a simple merge in the previous layout to an inverse merge crossing in the updated layout. This change is accomplished by replacing the IC5 curve after the merge in the original layout with a second reverse merge in the updated layout. The inverse merge crossing creates bypass 4, used by a counterclockwise traveling engine. The path leading from a merge at 3B creates bypass 3 in the new layout, which is used by a clockwise traveling engine. The path of the red engine and the path of bypass 3 intersect, as seen in the circled area in the updated layout. A new 90-degree curve cross was installed, so the two paths can cross. The path for the red engine was changed slightly to meet the new crossing. A merge replaced the curve track at location 5A to create bypass 5, which is used by a counterclockwise traveling engine. The exit for bypass 5 is in the path of bypass 2, which is changed to accommodate the merge at 5B. There are two additional crossings in the updated layout, one at the inverse merge intersection IC5 and the other at the 90-degree curve cross in bypass 3. In total, there are 9 crossings in the update layout, 2 45-degree straight crosses, 2 90-degree curve crosses, and 5 inverse merge crosses. We think Yogi would especially appreciate the name we gave to the layout, Star-Cross Constellation. Now, we think you will appreciate watching what happens when we operate engines on the updated layout. These are 2 video clips showing trains traveling on the updated layout. In the video clip on the left, both engines are traveling clockwise, with switch at 1A set to the curve exit. In this clockwise route, the new switch at 3A is not used. The difference on the left from the previous route is that the blue engine uses bypass 3 to avoid the switch at 3A in the updated route. In the video clip on the right, both engines travel counterclockwise and the switch at 3A is set to the curve exit. In the video clip on the right, the blue engine travels the straight path across the inverse merge crossing at IC5, where bypass 4 is entered and therefore intersection IC3 is avoided. In this counterclockwise route, switch at 1A is not used. Instead, switch at 1A is avoided when the blue engine enters bypass 5. In the video clip on the left, after about 30 seconds, the blue engine travels across the switch at 1A, and after a total of 60 seconds, the switch is crossed a second time. In the video clip on the right, the blue engine crossed the switch at 3B in the first 3 seconds, makes a second crossing in about 40 seconds, and a third crossing in about 80 seconds. In both videos, you may see some close encounters between the blue and the red engines. Are you surprised that we are operating 3 engines at the same time on this layout? The timing is quite tricky, and we had to work at getting it right. But not only can we operate the 3 engines, there are 2 route patterns where this can be done. Notice that in the left video clip, the 2 switches are both set to their straight exits. And in the right video clip, the 2 switches are both set to use their curve exits. In both videos, the white engine is on a clockwise route, and the blue engine is on a counterclockwise route. In the left video, the red engine travels a fixed route counterclockwise, but in the right video, the red engine travels the same route in the clockwise direction. This completes the layout we call the star-cross constellation and completes our 4-part episode featuring the reverse merge. We hope you enjoyed these videos, and you look for our other videos on the YouTube channel, Wooden Tracks Electric Trains. The information presented in this video is an honest representation of an actual wooden track layout using battery-operated toy trains. These videos are intended for entertainment and the enjoyment of hobbyists and enthusiasts. The train layout design and construction are our own and are provided without financial incentive. We share these videos on YouTube for our own satisfaction. We welcome constructive and polite feedback.